Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey, welcome to another Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin. As always, I'm joined by Tony has 9 fingers.
What is going on, people?
And I'm going to introduce our very special guest this week, longtime friend. He's a cosplayer. That's how I first met him. He's an actor. He's now a podcaster. I help him on a show called All Our Yesterdays, which is streaming live Sunday afternoons at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube, called All Our Yesterdays, like I said. So that is R.W. Martin. You at the same spot that I was?
Yeah, the Robin Williams gets me every time.
Oh,
hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no worries. So you'd pointed out that you were in a movie that is a horror movie. It's on streaming on Tubi right now called Where Is She? This is a movie that came out like 2000. Oh, you have it on Blu-ray. Nice. Yeah. It came out 2019, I believe, right? It's a little under an hour. Have you watched it on Tubi by chance, or
I have not. Since I was in it, we got the choice of DVD or Blu-ray or whatever. So I took Blu-ray, and I was at the premiere that we had before it was actually out there. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't really a premiere; it was more like a cast crew party,
like a screening
or whatever. Yeah. So
yeah.
But yeah, I've seen it a couple times, but not watched it on Tubi or whatever.
Yeah, I was just curious because I don't know if Tony, if you had the same situation. There's like a little weird audio glitch. I watched it once a while ago, and then I watched it again this time, and I forgot that it was there, and then my TV went weep like wicked loud.
Okay, I was wondering if that was like part of it.
I don't think it was. It happened twice, and my wife's like, "What the hell was that?" I'm like, "It was the movie I was watching."
I thought it was my TV dead. For a second. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But,
nice.
But I think it was one of the, like a noise that it was supposed to be. Because in the scene, you turn and look. And I'm guessing that's what
I don't think it was, though. Because, like RW, we go way back, as far as like an age. You remember, like, have you ever had a TV that like has crapped out on you, like an old tube TV, when it's dying and it's just like, whoop, and then it just is done? That's what it sounded like. So I was like, oh crap, is my TV dying on me? I'm like, wait a minute, this is 2022. That's not what they do anymore.
And I knew there were some glitches. I think there were some serious audio glitches before, and I thought they had been fixed, but apparently they have not.
Well, I mean, it may have been just the file that was uploaded to Tubi, because I know it's available as well on like Amazon Prime. You can like rent it, like pay to rent it or pay to buy it.
So please rent it now, because I make $0 on every rental.
No, but to be honest with you, the filmmakers make more money off of Tubi than they do off Amazon anyways. So yeah, from what I've been told, like from what we've been told by multiple directors. So either way, go check it out on Tubi. Yeah, there's some commercial breaks. I think there's maybe one commercial break.
There was one in the middle.
Yeah. And mine was like, it was almost done and there was a commercial break. It was
like halfway through.
Yeah. I think it all depends on when you actually watch it. So this is it's a film. It's not necessarily feature length. It takes place in one location for the most part. And it's pretty trippy. Like there's a couple like really cool shots in it. And I know you as this upbeat, outgoing guy all the time. And you're very like low key and blah, 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 whatever. Hey everybody, it's me. Where's the candy? And so it was a little different seeing you like that. I mean, but then again, you're an actor, so you're acting.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna back up and then come back to this. So probably around probably in 2007, I think. I got a call from a mutual friend that said, "Hey, they're filming a movie in Montpelier, Vermont." I'm gonna put these back on because I can't really see you guys. They're filming a movie in
Lucky.
Montpelier, Vermont, and they need extras to like eat pizza and play pool. And I'm like, okay, when do I show up? So I showed up, and it was this literally an 11-minute short film called Love Insurance. And if you can find it on YouTube, but there's a few of them out there. So if you want to know which one, I can send you a link or whatever. But it's about these two people who are at a pizza place, and it's been a while since I've actually watched it, but I think they're on a date, and the girl goes to play the jukebox and like somehow falls asleep. So the guy thinks she left, and so it's kind of this quirky little 10-minute thing. Anyways, I'm playing pool in one scene and eating pizza in another, and the funny thing is I didn't hear them yell action. So I've got my pizza like this, and I'm ready to eat it, and I don't hear action. So in this scene, the camera goes by me to go to their table, and the whole time I'm like this. Right? And then the camera goes by, and I'm like, I never ate the pizza because I never heard action. But anyway, so this is where I met this filmmaker and another filmmaker named Davey Russell. And as you know, I'm very, very high energy. So I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm being an yeah. And so Davey goes home and tells his fiance, he's like, oh my God, this guy, he was there. His name was RW. And I swear to God, this guy was on cocaine. In fact, one of the other guys said, he's seen it. He knows what it's like. And this guy is definitely like a drug addict. I will never work with this guy again. Right. So like 6 months later, Davey was casting for this project called Drake Mountain, which is actually on YouTube, and you can see that as well. And I went to this audition and basically was told, okay, this is the scenario. You're camping and people are disappearing, and this guy comes back who's the leader, and he's got blood on his hands, and you want to know what's going on. Act. So I'm like, dude, where have you been? Like, you got blood on your hand and all these people are missing? What the fuck have you been doing? And I'm like screaming and yelling and stuff. And Davey was playing the guy, and I scared him so much that he was like, okay, cut, because he thought I was like literally going to take him out or whatever.
Yeah.
So the other filmmaker who did Where Is She was there and said to Davey, if you don't hire him for your movie, I'll hire him for mine because this guy can act. So I did the Drake Mountain thing. And what's funny is, I think I said it, but Davey went home and said to his girlfriend, fiance, I will never work with this guy. So he cast me in Drake Mountain, and there was 6 of us on the mountain that were all supposed to die one by one. I was the last one remaining. So for a guy who this guy didn't want to work with, I ended up being the second to last killed. Technically, I got killed, and then he's like, what's going on? And then the camera goes dead, and he dies. So technically, I was the second to last. And then he did this other project called The Gary Wendell Show, which was supposed to be a 50-episode 50-episode thing about this Gary Wendell guy. And so I did that. And then the filmmaker of this, I became friends with, and he was talking about doing a feature-length movie called The Barn. And he had written a script called The Barn, and he was going to film that, and it was like 2-3 years later or whatever, and The Barn still wasn't filmed, so he decided to start out with a short, and this was supposed to be a short, like 10 minutes or whatever, ended up being 46 minutes, so they consider that a feature, and that's kind of how I got this role. Yeah, it was an interesting project. We had, and I tried to get them to be here tonight, but nobody really answered me. But Sandra Gardner played my wife in this, and she actually played my mother in this Gary Wendell Show thing that I did. And then there was a Hallmark movie that was filmed in Chester, Vermont, and I now live like 30 minutes from there. At the time I didn't, called Moonlight and Mistletoe, which starred Tom Arnold and Candace Cameron. There we go.
Oh.
And so I was literally in 3 little quick, extra scenes at the very beginning of the movie, and Sandra was the one who cast for that movie. So I've known Sandra for a while. So when this project came about, I was like, hey, I'm acting with you or whatever. And then the filmmaker and I did a Zoom call with Ellie Ash, who plays the little girl Sarah, and we were casting through Zoom because a lot of people were she was from Rhode Island, someone else was somewhere else. So instead of driving there, we just did a Zoom, and we did as soon as she did her stuff, we were like, yeah, that's her. And we tried not to show that in the audition because she would have seen us. And as soon as we're like, oh, thank you for coming in, and we'll let you know. Click, that's her. Yes, all right. And so she was a joy to work with, and I wish she or her mom were here tonight, because when we had downtime, her and I were dancing together on set, singing the bare necessities and just all this other stuff. And one of the treats on set for snacks was brownie brittle, and we were fighting over it. Hey, that's my brownie brittle. It's my brownie brittle. So we had a really good relationship, working on that film or whatever. But I'm sure you probably have questions, if you've seen it, about some of the things that we did, and a few of the things I'm proud of that I came up with or whatever. But yeah.
So Sergio's saying hi. Just want to make sure he knows that I saw it. I was just letting our W finish before I interrupted. So hi, Sergio. Good to see you through text. But yeah. So I've already talked a little bit. Tony, do you have any questions for our W?
Well, before I get to the movie part, was acting always something you were, destined to be? Like, did you always want to act, or did it kind of just, like you said, kind of fall in your lap that it's like, okay, whatever, let me try this out, and
read the book.
No, it is a very good question, and yes, indeed, it is all in my book. So in grade school, I was a little more outgoing, and I suffer from wicked ADHD, thus the title of the book, Living with ADHD. So ADHD can be a crutch, or it can be a saving grace. When I was a kid, it was bad, and the doctors put me on Ritalin. So here's me doing your podcast, when I'm 10 years old on Ritalin. So one day my mom's like, yeah, no. So she threw the rest of it out, stopped giving it to me, and let me be me. So in grade school, kindergarten through 6th, I was always getting in trouble because, so hyper and stuff. When I got to high school, the high school I went to is called Harwood Union High School, and 9 districts of elementary schools all went to this high school. And it was, by then standards, pretty huge. And so now you've got people from 8 other districts that you've never met, because when you're in grade school, that person, even if, he's not in your your grade, on your 3rd grade thing or whatever, you're going to see him at lunch or whatever. But when you go to that high school, there's all these people. So I started getting bullied really badly and ended up having to drop out of school. So the answer is, as a young kid with a dysfunctional family and stuff, I always wanted to be an actor. I would watch TV all the time and just be amazed at the things that these actors were doing and stuff. But then in grade school, I just wanted to get out of there alive. And I did stage crew for 2 years. I did Peter Pan and Once Upon a Mattress. And read the book. There's a great story in there how I got thrown out of stage crew. But anyways, at the end of the play, first the cast all comes out and they take their bow, they hold hands and they do the thank you thing, and then the orchestra comes and bows, and then these people come, and then the stage crew comes out and they take their bow. I didn't even want to go out on that stage with the 1,000 people in the audience to take a bow, because that's how low self-esteem that I had. So it wasn't until 1986 that I was working at 86 or 87, I was working at a pizza place in Waterbury, Vermont called Togo's, and everybody thought it was Two Go's, but it was Togo's. And my boss, Lisa Hamblin, said to me, what do you want to be, when you grow up? And I'm like, an adult. And she's like, no, seriously. And I'm like, I'm going to be a famous actor. And she's like, have you done any plays? And I go, I can't do plays. I can't perform in front of anybody. And she's like, okay. And I go, I'm going to be a TV star. And she goes, you realize they film TV shows in front of a studio audience, right? And I go, like I said, I'm going to be a movie actor. And she goes, you realize they film on location and there's 1,000 people watching them film? And I go, okay, well, she's like, look, if you're going to do this, you got to do it. And so there was a variety show that was coming up in the town of Waterbury, and I didn't really have any talents. So I had a perm and I had a mustache and I wore glasses and I looked exactly like Weird Al Yankovic did then. Because now he has the longer hair, but then he had like the perm that was like that. And I looked just like him. So I would I would look in a mirror for like 6 hours a day listening to Weird Al songs going like this. And if I opened my mouth and there was no word, I'd rewind the cassette and start again. And if I closed my mouth and there was still a word, I would rewind the tape again and start again until every time I went, I was matching every word and everything till I had it perfect. I entered this variety show as Weird Al. I did This Is the Life from Johnny Dangerously movie, and I did One More Minute. And the crowd went absolutely nuts. Here I am, not even singing, just lip syncing, but I had all these props and I was doing all this stuff. And that day in 1987 was the day that I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I'll tell you, 5 minutes before that curtain opened, I was not so sure I wanted to go out on that stage. But once I did, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so in 88, I think it was, there was a movie being filmed in Bristol, Vermont called The Wizard of Loneliness, starring Lance Guest, otherwise known as The Last Starfighter. That's him in the jeans, and I'm next to him in the white sweater or whatever. And so I went and I was, a PA and an extra. And that was my first kind of taste of the whole thing. One day on set, they go, yeah, we got that. Basically, they said, we got Leah Thompson on her way over. I'm like, oh my God. So I get my little disc camera out, snap this picture of Leah Thompson walking to set, followed by this not so happy picture of Leah Thompson walking to set. And that was my last day working on The Wizard of Loneliness. So anyways, to answer your question, when I was a younger kid, yes. When I got into high school, no. Then in 1987, when I was 21, 22, my boss said, basically shit or get off the pot. And I've been off the pot for however many years that is, so yeah.
Well, there you go. Does that answer your question, Tony?
Yeah, and it's for anybody watching or listening at that point in time, it's one of those things where, sometimes you just got to take that dive and see what happens. And, I get with, the couple shorts that I saw you in, and well, I can't call it a full length, but longer than a short, but shorter than a full length.
Shorter than a long?
I guess you could call it. But at that point in time, it's like, now you're following it. And I think a lot of people at that point in time can, take inspiration from it, because even Kevin's been many a times, he loves going to comedy sketches and comedy shows. And it's like, well, I don't think I could ever do it. So he could take kind of like a little.
I'm still terrified. Like one of these, I have to try it at some point in my life, but I'm going to have to be other side of the country where no one knows me. And I can go up there and eat it and then be like, all right, I did it. Never again.
When I lived in New Hampshire, I think it might have been either 2009 or 10. My then girlfriend, there was some comedy show thing going on at like the Mill place in Manchester, New Hampshire or whatever. And she's like, oh, you should go do this comedy thing. Your stories are funny. And I'm like, I don't think so. And she's like, oh, no, you should totally do it. So I wasn't ready. I was not ready to do stand-up, but I felt like I needed to do it. So there were 13 people who did comedy that night, and I put myself at 7, meaning 6 people were way better than me, but I was better than 6 other people. So for a first time out, I was pretty comfortable with that. And that's also on my YouTube channel to see that comedy routine that I did then. But it really, today is the anniversary of Elvis Presley's passing, and it's a perfect time to bring his name up because every time he went out on stage, and he was Elvis frickin' Presley. Can I say frickin' on this thing?
You can say more than that.
Okay, so he was Elvis frickin' Presley, but every concert he did, he was back there. He usually had a pen in his hand or something, and he was always tapping. He was always going, and he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if these people are gonna like me. He was Elvis Presley. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 people there to see him, and he was nervous to go out there. So I think every time you are nervous, because what if these people don't get it? So like, let's say you're a comedian and you have political jokes or you have racist jokes or whatever your bag is. This crowd may not like that, so you go out there and you're nervous. You're like, is this joke going to go over? I'm in the South. Yesterday I was in the North. Today I'm in Canada. Now I'm in Australia. Like, you get nervous because you just don't know if that crowd is going to accept you the way the last crowd did. So I think it's the same way with every acting thing, every comedy thing. Probably singers when they go out to perform, like Bon Jovi or whoever, are these people going to like what I'm here to do?
Yeah.
Even though you're Elvis Presley, you still have that nervous energy. And what if they don't like me?
Right. And being a guy who's played music for a long time, like I do, like that is the case. Like every time before we would go on and be like, people are going to hate this, because without fail, if I thought people are going to hate this, it would usually go all right. If I thought like, all right, I'm going to be impressing people tonight, that's when it would stink.
Right.
I think I told a story on maybe like one of the last episodes of All Our Yesterdays where, like people would like get violent, like they would want to beat us up. And those were like, my wife would be there and I'd be like, I'm going to make her think I'm cool by playing in a rock and roll band in front of all these people. And then people like, I want to kick the shit out of that guy. Like as we're playing,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like we'd be like, all right, this is going to be dumb, whatever. And then people like, this is awesome. Like I've signed autographs. Like I've never, like, it's weird. Like then like people are like, oh my God, where are you guys from? I'm like, I work at the deli down the street. Like I'm from here. Like I'm nobody. I'm nobody. But as far as stand-up goes, like it's something that I've always loved. And there's a special kind of person who can actually do it. And I go to open mics, like, and I don't go to perform. Obviously I go to watch. And I think I brought it up. I've brought it up on this show multiple times. I brought it up on All Our Yesterdays, just the last episode we did, where I want to see someone's like early stuff because I want to see progression. And that's what I'm seeing with these comics too. It's like you see them try a joke and it stinks. I go back a month later, that joke is now polished and it's much better than it was the first time I saw it. And it's like, I like to see that process, but then at the same time too, I'm like, better for you, man. Like good on you. Cause I would start crying and pee my pants if I got up there.
And I'll tell you, and this is, I don't just make stuff up. Everything that I will say to anybody, I can back up either myself or I can grab a friend and say, tell them blah, 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 blah. And they'll tell you the story. Like I can go into a separate room and say, just tell them the story about this thing and I'll leave. And they'll tell you it. So like anything I say is not just like, hey, I'm on TV or I'm on this podcast, I'm going to impress the world. So in the late 80s, Arsenio Hall was big. If you guys even remember that his show,
I do.
Yeah. From stage 29 at Paramount Studios on Melrose Avenue in the heart of Hollywood, California. Anyways, so it's Arsenio.
Tony's like, huh? What?
Hall.
I've never really watched his show, but I know.
So he would come out and he'd say, I have these things that make you think. They're not jokes. They're things that make you go, like how come the yellow trucking company is orange? So it was just things that he would think of. He'd observe something and go, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So somewhere in 89, 90, 91, again, it's so long ago, I don't remember the exact year, but he was pretty big at that point. I used to call the show all the time, and his assistant's name was Cheryl Bonacci. And I have a folder on Facebook called Autograph Collecting for 12 years or 25 years or whatever it is. And all my autographs that I have are there. You can see my Arsenio Hall one. So she got it sent to me. But one day I called and she wasn't there. So I got a writer. And I said, hey, I got some stuff for you. I go, like, you know how Arsenio does those things that make you think? And he's like, yeah. And I go, how come on Star Trek you never see anybody go to the bathroom? There's like no mention of it. And he's like, that's kind of funny, but we'll never use it. So I don't remember if it was the next day, 3 days later, a week later, or whatever. I'm watching the Arsenio Hall show. Arsenio comes out and he goes, I'm driving in from Cleveland today, and I'm thinking, about some stuff. And they're not jokes. They're just things that make you go, Like, how come on Star Trek you never see anybody go to the bathroom? Bazinga! So I wrote a joke that Arsenio Hall used on the air, never got credit for it. Went out to LA on a bus in '94, 3 days on a bus from Waterbury, Vermont to Hollywood, California. Went to 2 tapings of the Arsenio Hall show. On the Tuesday taping, I was holding up an autograph photo, the autograph photo that he signed for me, but it was a photocopy. And at the end of the show, he points to me and my friend Rick, and he goes, "Come here." So we stand up, and this big guy goes, "You can't stand until the show is over." And we go, "But Arsenio just said to come down there." He goes, "I don't care what Arsenio said. Sit down." So we sit back down. Arsenio had turned around to talk to somebody, and then he turned around to thinking we were going to be down at the floor, and we weren't there. He looked back at me. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Come down here." And we could kind of read his lips, and we he said we can't come down there. And he goes, "Fuck them." So me and my friend shoot down to the floor, and the music's playing wicked loud because it's the end of the thing. People are cheering and clapping. I mean, I'm sitting next to Arsenio, that's what he hears. So I had the fake autograph, or the photocopy, and he goes, "You want me to sign that?" And I go, "No, it's a photocopy. I'm just wondering if I could talk to you for 5 minutes after the show." And my friend had the LA Times that we bought that day that said Arsenio canceled. And he goes, "Here, sign this." So Arsenio writes Arsenio Hall on it and hands it back to us. And he's like, "Yeah, man, do you guys have info? Give it to my guy right there. He'll take your info. I got some stuff I got to do. I'll call you after the show." Arsenio never called us. But I just wanted to tell him, you used one of my jokes. But I didn't want to scream it in his ear because it was so loud. I just wanted to be able to say, "Hey, I wrote a joke for you. I'm out here to sell my TV pilot. Do you know anybody?" Blah, 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 blah. But anyways, so the next day we go take the Paramount Pictures tour. We see Arsenio through a fence. I yell to him. Security says, "If you don't move away from the fence, we're going to throw you on the ground, haul you away. And if that's what you want, then keep trying to yell at Arsenio." And I'm like, "But he said he was going to talk to us, so I'm just trying to let him know we're here." So finally my friend picks me up, walks me out of this little area, sets me down and goes, "Randy, come on, we got to go." And I go, "No, I'm not leaving." I go back in and I go, "Arsenio, you were supposed to call us." And the security guard goes, "Look, if you don't get your friend out of here, we're going to call the Los Angeles police right now, and they're going to come, and they're going to throw you on the pavement, handcuff you, drag you off. If that's what you want, then we can certainly do that." And my friend literally picked me up, walked me like a half a mile down the sidewalk, and then let me go. But I just wanted to say, hey, you used my joke. And that's the problem with Hollywood is people go, "Oh, yeah, I'll get in touch with you," and they don't. And so anyways, the point of the story was I wrote a joke that Arsenio Hall used on his show, which I still to this day think is pretty freaking awesome. But,
yeah. Oh, that's great. Not too many people can say that.
Yeah, but
except for Tony, he can say that. He wrote the whole monologue. Right, Tony?
Oh,
all right, I guess not. Sergio was asking to see a trailer. He asked earlier too what movie. So Sergio, because you're a little bit late, he's in a movie. Well, he's in multiple things, but the movie that we were talking about a little earlier is called Where Is She?, which is a horror movie that you can stream right now for free on Tubi. So I'm going to play the trailer for that, and then we'll be right back.
And then you'll have more questions.
That's right. We'll be right back.
Yeah? It's time to play hide and seek, Mary. Jen? Where am I, Mary?
Hi, my name is Sarah. I would like my candy back, please.
You don't remember what just happened. There's holes in my memory. When? Where was I?
I don't know. Gone. Like always.
Come find me, Mary.
Help me! Help! Please, someone, please help me!
Oh, Agent 57, you rapscallion. Oh, hey, sorry guys, we're back. I just wanted to point that out as well. It's a comic book that RW has out as well that I picked up at a Comic-Con. I still have to have you sign this.
Oh. That's weird how we have the same thing.
I know. Those are the only two things I have.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things.
Yeah, go ahead.
In that trailer where the camera goes by and that chair like starts moving, that was me moving the chair. Just wanted to throw that. But yeah, go ahead. Questions about it now. Yeah.
So the location, is that someone's house or is that like a cabin somewhere? Because it reminded me of like a rental, like a cabin that I would go to in like up in like New Hampshire or something when I was a kid. Like like that. It's got the thinner walls, and
So
you know,
the
like
inside, you're saying?
Yeah.
So the filmmaker, I'm gonna keep referring to him as that for reasons. And I had taken his 2-car garage, and we took the overhead doors that were on automatic overhead doors. We took them out. He then boarded up one of the bays, and then made another door that did this kind of an opening thing for the other one. And we put down a false floor first and put up texture 111. Well, first we sheetrocked the entire thing, and then we put texture 111 plywood across the whole thing. And we allowed, like, I think it was like a 3-foot on one wall so we could get behind and work behind there, and then like another 1 foot behind another area so we could get behind there or whatever. But it's basically a 2-car garage turned into the whole movie set.
Oh wow!
So everything you see there is like the closet is propped. It shows a set of stairs. They go to nowhere, and you know everything in there we found at various places to dress that set. So that's where that was. It's a 2-car garage, which I have heard that person no longer lives in that house, and so no longer has that garage at his disposal anymore. So that set stayed up for a couple of years, I hear, and it's now completely gone or whatever. But yeah,
if he forgot about it one day and just came home and just drove right through it.
But yeah, so that's what that was. It was a 2-car garage.
I mean, I thought it was very believable. I didn't think it was a garage at all.
Yeah,
I thought it was a cabin.
Yeah, so there's that. We always go in and out of black curtain, and that's supposed to signify going into another area that obviously doesn't exist. And then there's the scene where the little girl's knocking on an outside door, and if you've seen it, I grab the candy and go inside. That was filmed at a different location, but it had the look of an outside of what this inside may look like, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it was I never would have guessed that. So that's pretty movie magic right there. There was definitely a few shots that I thought were done really well. Like there was a scene earlier on where you go in to hide in the closet, and then it kind of comes back around to that later on, and you kind of go over the top, like, and it's from a different angle, and I just thought it looked really cool. I was like, oh, that looks awesome. Like it just was done really well. Um, so yeah, there's some cool bits of it for sure. Sergio, I always get confused when you say this. He says I don't want to see that at all. Is it because it looks scary, or is it because you didn't like the way it looked, or what do you mean by that? Clarification, please. Thank you. Anyways, so is this the only horror-ish kind of like short or movie you've done, or is this? Do you have some?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one day, my girlfriend Tracy's son, who's 14, and I went to a graveyard, and he used my phone gimbal, and we shot like a Michael Myers thing in the graveyard just to kind of learn some camera tricks on a gimbal. So I mean, it's like that's on YouTube as well, but it's not classified as horror. It's just walking through the graveyard as Michael Myers, but using all these techniques and cutting them together to make it look really cool. But yeah, this is, again, so we had actually built most of that set for this movie that I talked about earlier, the barn. And then when that didn't happen, we did a little bit of redressing, putting up a different wall or whatever to make it for this movie or whatever. But one of my shots that I'm very proud of, because I was the one who kind of came up with it, but the Texture 111, if you get dragged on that stuff, like it splinters and it's horrible. So there was a scene where she has to drag me across the floor, and I'm like, this is not gonna end well. So I did a music video with this same filmmaker, which is somewhere online. And again, if you want to see it, I can get you a link to it or whatever. But it was for a band called United Mess, and they were out of like the Plattsburgh area, and they had won this battle of the bands, and this filmmaker put up for a prize, I will film a music video for whoever wins this prize. So I actually worked on that music video as the boyfriend in this video. And I had done this stunt where
Tony disappeared. Are you still there, RW?
I am.
Okay. So yeah, Tony disappeared.
Because I didn't want to.
No, if he comes back, I'll just add him in. I mean, he might have just had a bad connection or something, but he'll be back. Continue with your story.
All right, I just was going to give him a second.
Oh yeah, he's already here.
Okay,
so good. Continue.
Yep. So the one of these scenes basically called for me to get hit by a car. So I'm supposed to run out in front of a Dodge Durango and get hit by it or whatever. So on one of these, so they had a twin size mattress on the ground that I was supposed to land on. And when I jumped back, instead of jumping back straight, I jumped back at an angle, and my elbow hit the pavement like as hard as it possibly could. Oof. And I didn't say anything because I knew it'd be like, okay, we're done or whatever, So I'm one of those people who's just like, you got to get this thing done. My elbow hurts, not telling anybody about it. Let's just move on. So then when it was all said and done, I'm like, yeah, I hit my elbow. It's okay now or whatever. But so anyways, they had to, after I get hit by this car, I'm laying on the pavement, and the guy in the car gets out of his car and drags me out of the way. When he dragged me out of the way, the back of my shirt was completely shredded because he dragged me on pavement and it just tore my shirt up. But we needed to do like 4 or 5 more takes of this. So I get the genius idea, hey, give me some of that gaffer tape and tape the back of my shirt. So he taped the back of my shirt with basically masking tape where it had ripped, and he could drag me on the tape technically and it wouldn't rip my shirt anymore. Anyways, I learned from that experience that I don't want to get dragged across a Texture 111 floor. So I'm like, how are we going to drag me? She weighs like, 45 pounds and I weigh like 170. And he had these 2 little like square dollies with 4 wheels on each corner. Yep. And I'm like, give me a 2x4. Took a 2x4, drilled the 2 little square dollies together and laid on top of them, and my shirt and vest were so long that it covered the dollies. And I said, see if you can drag me into this closet. Right into the closet on these dollies. So that shot where I'm clawing at the thing and getting dragged into the closet, I'm on a dolly that I built, and I'm wicked proud of that scene because it was like yay, I came up with an idea to not get splinters all over me and make this thing work. And with some, Foley sound over that. I mean, you don't even use that sound anyways, but you don't even know that somebody's dragging someone on 8 wheels or whatever. And then there's a scene or two where the door has to open. And this was when my youngest daughter either still lived in Vermont or was up visiting. I can't remember which, but we had her inside, tucked way down to be able to open and close the door. So she got a production assistant credit for
that's
moving
cool.
the door or whatever. So that was pretty cool to have her there or whatever. But
Nice.
yeah, a lot of cool things. Go ahead.
Sergio came back with the answer that it's too spooky for him.
There's a few people who find it too spooky. It's more of a mind thing than a ring thing. So yeah, it's the anticipation of what is going to happen kind of stuff. As opposed
kind
to,
of like what's real, what isn't real. Like, oh geez, like this, whatever. There's a few things like, and again, I would have completely ruined it because I right away I was thinking of like, if I was RW, I would have done this, but it's always like more comical things that I would have done, which was not appropriate for the movie at all. But there's like the one scene where she gets up and she's just you go to like grab some candy. She's like, "Don't eat my candy" or whatever, and she walks away.
Yeah.
Like I was like, if it was me, I would have just like as soon as she was out of shot, I just would have grabbed some candy, just shoved it in my mouth, and just like gone up from there. I'm like, but that really wouldn't. That would have taken us out of it. But that was my first inkling to do.
And people can see me in a project and go, why did he do that? Why did he do that? And my answer is the director told me to do that. So like if I ever come across in any kind of project as a bad actor or he didn't do that way, why did he do that? I'm doing exactly what they tell me. So if it looks bad, don't blame me. Like, and I mean, so like I couldn't be comical, which is who I am, because
that's not the character.
Jeff is scared of Mary.
Yeah.
So there's that scene in the very beginning where we come in and I'm holding all that stuff and I don't sit it down. And you're like, why isn't he sitting this down? I can't set anything down until she tells me I can set this stuff down. So that's why that whole time I'm standing there with all this stuff going, I know, I forgot it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then we hear a knock at the door, and she didn't say I could do it, but I'm like, this is my way out because I have to answer the door. Yay, I can put this stuff down now. So little things like that, like people are, why is he still holding that? Because he can't put it down until she says, because she's in charge of everything. He's scared of her, and she makes the rules or whatever. And interesting side note to that. So when we were filming that first scene, I don't know if it was the first scene we filmed, but that first scene where I'm holding all that stuff, the plastic cooler was very slippery with all that stuff on it. So if I moved slightly, the stuff would slide everywhere. So I had to try to not slide it. Well, in this one shot, something slid and it either fell on the floor or I'm like, I'm dropping this stuff. So the filmmaker went to help me bump the camera on the tripod, and he had borrowed a widescreen lens from his boss, and the camera went.
Oh, geez.
And the lens broke in like 6 pieces.
Oof.
Yeah. So every time I see that scene, I go, no, I really don't. But so we had to get a different lens to film the rest of it with that lens instead of this one that we had started with. And you can't really tell because the lenses were very similar and it's a closed space anyway, so whatever. But that scene there, that's like the best trivia right there is like literally I'm like, somebody want to get this? And he's like, got it. And he just barely touched the tripod and it went, and he turned around and was too late and it just went bam, and it landed right on the lens because it's top heavy and that's the spot that, went down and hit the floor and it was like 45 minutes of like silence of are we gonna finish this or are we done? Are
you fired? Do you have enough money to do this anymore?
Do we talk to anybody? Do we shut our mouths? Like, do we go so that was a very, very hairy situation.
How long was the actual filming process for this one? Like, was it like over a couple weeks or?
Yeah, so and again it was 2017. Was that what it said? 2019.
I think it was released in 2019.
Yeah, so I think we started it in 2017. I could be wrong. It could have been 2018. But anyways, it was over the course of like maybe 3 or 4 weekends. But Ellie came up for a Saturday, Sunday shoot, and we did all her stuff in one weekend, so she wouldn't have to come back because she was from Rhode Island. And then the rest of us were just kind of like, oh, we can film this weekend, film that next weekend, blah 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 blah. So it was a pretty quick shoot, but it was spread out.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
it was fun, and had a lot of fun behind the scenes, and with
Breaking lenses, eating candy. I see how
candy.
it is.
Yeah.
But so Sergio's asking what your favorite horror movie is. Told you he would.
Okay.
And actually, I want to tag on to that. Considering that you're not necessarily like as much of a horror movie guy as like myself and Tony, would you? I mean, obviously, if there's a job that is interesting enough, you would entertain it. But I mean, is it something that you would be looking for in the future, like for more horror stuff? Because I mean, it's a genre that there's always new stuff happening.
So
but yeah,
both good questions. I mean, I'm not into gore or like paranormal, like possession stuff, not at all. But I mean, I back in the day watched all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and I love those. Big fan of the Halloweens, big fan of the Friday the 13th Part 3, not because it's in 3D, but is my favorite one. I think that's my favorite of the franchise. The first Halloween movie I absolutely love. I love the first few Freddy's.
After 3, it's done. Yeah. After 3.
So I I'm not, like you say, as big into the horror genre as you guys are, but there's a failed project that I did back in, it had to be, somewhere in 98, 9, or 2000, somewhere in there. Again, my memory, it's so long ago I can't remember, but it was called Between Waking Worlds, and I played the killer. And basically I just had a thermal jumpsuit, sort of like Michael Myers, except for mine was insulated, so it was thicker and bigger, and just a ski mask, and I was the killer. So I killed a bunch of people and so on and so forth, and then the thing never went anywhere. And a few years ago I got in touch with Michael Quinlan, who was the director, writer of that, and I'm like, dude, am I ever going to see any of this footage? Whatever happened to this? And he's like, it all got lost in Irene. So that footage is gone. So I would totally do a horror movie. I mean, I'm only 5'11", but I think Nick
Are
Castle,
you?
Yeah. So I think Nick Castle was 5'11", who was the first Michael Myers. And Ari Lehman is 5'11", the first Jason, although he wasn't.
Yeah, he was a child.
Yeah, he was a child, so it doesn't count.
he was in a lake.
Yeah, what
time,
happens though is every movie. So you got Jason, he's 5'11". They're like, let's make him bigger. So now he's 6'1". They're like, let's make him bigger. Now he's 6'4". Let's make him bigger. Now he's 6'8". So the people playing these people keep getting bigger. And if you ask, Robert Englund's only 5'9", and I don't think you need to be 6'4" to be scary. Like Chucky. I've never seen any of those, but I mean that's pretty scary. So why we feel that Jason and now Michael Myers needs to be 6'6" and weigh 285 pounds and be ominous. Some 5'8" guy killing people, that's scary. So I would totally be like a Michael Myers or a Jason Voorhees or whatever. And do that kind of stuff. So again, I'm an actor, so I've done stuff for this, this is an example. I haven't really done this, but I've done stuff for Chevy and I've done stuff for Ford. So it's not like I'm married to Chevy or married to Ford. You're paying me to be an actor. That's what I'm going to do. So and a lot of times people, will do a commercial for, let's say, Liberty, 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 and think that you're, Liberty Mutual guy. No, I have State Farm. But you paid me to be in this commercial. It's like you paid me to be in a T-Mobile commercial, but I'm a Verizon guy. But a lot of times people associate you with what you do, and you're an actor. You're just getting paid to do something. So But yeah, I would do more horror if I could, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is obviously you have some acting chops there, and I mean so just for those listening. I mean, we've talked about it on all our yesterdays before, but I first met RW at a con. He was cosplaying, and like he kept popping up throughout the con, and every time I saw him, he was a different character, and he was selling it like hard every time, and I was just like, what the hell's going on with this guy? Like every time I see him, he's a different character. So I was like, what do you keep running up to the room to get changed or something? He's just like, no, I'm staying in the car. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't even like he was getting changed in his car.
Well,
So I was
no,
like,
outside the car. I would open the driver's door and the
Oh.
rear door, and I'd stand between them. I'd look around the parking lot, make sure no one was coming, drop the pants, put the new pants on to get those done before someone else came around. You can be out in public without a shirt on, but if you're like standing around in your underwear, the police may take note. So I always did the pants first, and then after the con was done, like I'd go to find my hat, and I'm like, "Where's my hat?" Because I would just throw the next. I'd take the costume up and just throw it in the car, grab another costume, throw that one in there, take another one. By the time I got home, I'm like, "Where's my Ernest hat?
yeah.
Where's my glasses for chips? Where did my freaking this go?" And it's like it was so hard because I didn't have a room because I never had any money, so I'd sleep in my car and do my changes out there, and then whatever. So yeah, it was a pain in the neck, but I know there's probably other questions, but I'll just quickly. I was in a movie called Space People, which I believe is also on Tubi TV. I was in the sequel Space People 2. My character in that is Cosmic Ray. I was in a project called Apocalypse Party where I play Death. I believe that's on YouTube still. This is one of my favorite ones. It's called Tales of the Inexplicable. It's not anywhere right yet because the last I knew it was still in some festivals trying to get win some stuff or whatever, but there's 5 different stories in here. The story I am is called Beware the Photo Bomber, which I love doing. This is another one of my favorite ones that I did. It's also on YouTube. It's called Task Fail. It's about a guy who's in a 90s game and he needs other characters to help him get to the end of this thing. So I play this character called Nicholas Carbuncle, and we filmed it during the pandemic. So we all who were in it had to either film it at our house, or if we had an outside thing, we had to take our own cameras to wherever that was that we needed to film it ourselves, send it to Adam Griswold, not related to Clark, and he would edit it all together or whatever. And so, we've already quickly talked about my book here, which, and you talked about my comic real quick. But back in 2000 something or other, I forget when that was. Let's see if there's a date on this book. This 2008. So 2008, I had my headshot online and my resume trying to get work or whatever. And trust me, in 2008, I really wasn't, and I'm not saying I'm talented now, but I really wasn't as talented then as I am now. But somebody found my headshot online, and I get this email saying, "Hey, we found your headshot online. We want to put you in this book called Holy Headshot." And I'm like, "Yeah, what's the catch?" And they're like, "No catch. We're doing this book of different headshots. It's being produced by Simon & Schuster." I go, "Yeah, sure it is." And they're like, "No, seriously, call this number." So instead of calling their number, I looked up Simon & Schuster's number on the internet and called that number. I said, "Are you guys working on a book called Holy Headshot?" And they go, "Yes, we are." And I went, "Holy shit." So I write the people back and I go, "Yes, I want to be in your book." So in 2008, this book came out called Holy Headshot, which is a book about what? Headshots. You guessed it, headshots and people's resumes, right? So on page 42, 43, there's old R.W. Martin right there who made it into this book, Holy Headshot. So a lot of people don't know about that. A lot of people who did know about it forgot about it. So in 2008, I made it in this book, and then I wrote my own book. Recently, this guy who's very famous in Vermont for writing horror stories, and if you guys are into horror, you may have had him on your show, Joseph Citro. He writes a lot of ghost and horror stories. He wrote a book a while back called The Vermont Ghost Guide. He decided it was time to update it. He updated it with Robert Burnell Jr., who I'm sure you've seen at a few cons here and there or whatever. So I told him about this little story that happened in Waterbury with my uncle who died on the tracks, and they gave my uncle a 3-page comic spread about my uncle getting killed by a train and then haunting my father for the rest of his life. So my name and my uncle's story kind of made it in that book. And then a few years ago, and I went to Fun Spot as Billy Mitchell, and I ended up getting an official Randy W. Martin trading card. And it says the fake Billy Mitchell, Superstars of 2020, and it has like all this info on the back. So I have done so many things and been so blessed in the last however many years. And like I say, I owe it all to Lisa Hamlin, who was my boss at Togo's, for saying either shit or get off the pot. And had she not done that, I wouldn't even be close to where I am right now.
You'd still be selling pizza.
I would.
Yeah. Well, not. Yeah. But yeah. So, and also to, because we have to wrap things up shortly, but the new podcast, All Our Yesterdays, we actually, that's how we got, I'm forgetting her name.
Catherine Mary Stewart.
Catherine Mary Stewart. That's how we got her. But you've had some awesome guests on that as well, and I'm helping you like produce that podcast. So it's a good time. We just had very interesting conversations, people that I don't know anything about, and they're very interesting. That the guy we just had on this past Sunday, what was his name?
Well, now you got me blanking. We had Jerry Reese.
Yeah, Jerry Reese.
And we had Michael McGreevy the week before.
Right. So Jerry Reese, he's the guy who wrote and directed The Brave Little Toaster. He's an animator for Disney. Yeah, he was an animator for Disney forever. He worked on Fox and the Hound. He worked on a bunch of Pete's Dragon, stuff like that. Yeah, he did Tron. He did visual effects for Tron. He worked
with
my
Tim childhood Burton. Right there.
Right. Yeah. He worked with Tim Burton on some stuff. Like when they were like early on, they started together, and his son is a character designer for Rick and Morty, and and his other son is a composer who composes like all these giant hit like movies in Vietnam, and like it's crazy. Like it's so many. And then when we had the guy Michael, what was his last name?
McGreevy.
Yeah, McGreevy on. Like he was in all these movies with someone who's still his best friend, which is Kurt Russell, and he's talking about that, and then he mentions that his son is he's the guy who runs Epitaph Records. I'm like, what? Like Epitaph Records? That's where like a majority of the bands that I love came from, or they started there and did whatever. Angel saying, "What's up, guys? You're late, Angel."
Have him come in.
That's okay. We have a couple minutes, but so yeah, All Our Yesterdays. It's been a really good time with that so far. So hopefully that continues for a while. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, it's more like pop culture from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't have to be. I mean, if,
right.
That's kind of where I'm at. But we get somebody from the 90s or 2000s. It's just
right.
I just want it to be a good show, and so far we've had a bunch of good shows.
Yeah.
And I noticed in the little blurb for me being on the show, you said something about a documentary. I won't take a lot of time.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It was a documentary that got started last year, and due to just a bunch of stuff, the person who was spearheading that could no longer really take it on. So I've got a whole new team, and it's basically going to be a documentary based loosely on my book or whatever. So the documentary is just called RW, kind of a takeoff of the Val documentary on Val Kilmer or whatever. And it'll just have some interviews and, talk about a lot of stuff I just talked about here and more, like how did you do this? When did you do that? And then other people like you guys saying, oh, we met RW doing this, and this is what we've seen him do. And that's slated to be next year if all goes well. But I've been pumping my IMDb page up, and I'm pretty proud that I got to star rating of 49,608, which is the highest I've been. So the lower number you have, the highest you are. So like if you were number one, that'd be the best. But I'm at 49,000, and most people, like the projects I've been in with people, most of the time I'm got the highest ranking out of all those people, or I'm in like the top 3. So to me,
I do have to say, since you've helped me out with my IMDb, now I'm the first Kevin Crook that comes up when you search for my name.
Yeah, so that got all everything's there the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm glad that.
But like it was second, like when you would search for my name, and now it's the first one that comes up. So that's pretty cool.
And
moving on up.
Yeah, I'm RW Martin 2. The R.W. Martin one is a stunt pilot from Lethal Weapon or whatever. But now,
Whatever.
When I search my name, I come up first now too. So
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I just don't understand how the internet works.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So where can people go to follow your goings-ons and whatever you have coming up?
Well, if you go to officialrwmartin.com, I try to keep it updated, but I have slacked a little bit. But if you find my IMDb page, which I believe is also, findable through there, but if you go there, the links to everything, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I have GIFs on Tenor, and I'm on Cameo and TikTok, and then there's links to all our yesterday show, and I believe my Internet Movie Database page is there and some videos, but my IMDb page is like I say, it is pretty darn good right now, and there's about 15 videos there, and it just shows all the stuff I've done, and some stuff takes time to get up there, and then I put in a wrong date and went to fix it, and now it's going to take 3 weeks. If you put it, it's so funny. You go there and you go, Joe Smo was in Smokin' Dragon, and it goes up, and then you go, oh no, it wasn't Smokin' Dragon, it was Smokin' Chihuahua, and then it's 6 weeks later before they fix that. It's the first thing's immediate, and then if you fix something, they're like, oh, this is gonna, we don't know what to do. This is gonna take us too long. But if you just go there, you can find, and to all those people who are watching or who will watch later, to all those people who have supported me for upteen amount of years, and for those of you who are just coming on board to support it, I know a lot of people go, hey, thanks for supporting, it means a lot. Hey, that's right, Angel. It really, really does mean a lot. Without support, I'm nowhere. If no one checks out my stuff and no one knows who I am, then why am I doing this? So I appreciate everybody out there. I appreciate you guys for having me on. I just appreciate all my followers and people who have always said, because I get down sometimes, and I'm like,
we all
this.
do.
I'm like, screw this. I'm not doing this anymore. And then I get a text like, dude, you've got this. You're the most talented person I know. And I'm not saying that from me. I'm saying this from people who, and I'm like, yeah, but what good is talent if I can't get anywhere? And they're like, don't give up. So then I'm like, okay, I pick myself up and I go on. So without people like you, I would have given up a long time ago. So I appreciate you all.
Cool. Tony, but besides I was trying to remember the name of the movie that you said was, it was a Flaming Dragon, then Flaming Chihuahua. I was going to call you Joe Schmo from Flaming Dragon. So Tony, where can people follow you and your billions of TikTok followers? I beat you to it.
You can find me on Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related. You'll find on here. On YouTube. Tony Has Nine Fingers on Twitter, which I hardly ever use. I don't know why I keep on saying it. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok, which I do movie
have
stuff,
1 billion followers.
Working.
Yeah.
No, it's growing, slowly growing.
Tell RW how many followers you get.
Almost 17,000.
There you go.
I'm only at 4, I think, but I don't use it that much.
I have more than 4, and I haven't put any videos up.
No, I'm at 4,000.
Oh, I'm at 4. No, I haven't put any videos up. I keep getting all these followers. I'm like, they're just like bots.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
Also, here every Tuesday, most Tuesdays, whether we have an awesome guest like RW or, it's an open discussion, you'll find us here live, which I always say. Well, I don't always say it, but we try to, push it that you should check us out live rather than
it's weird. So we do live and we'll have all these, we'll have awesome guests. And then we have way more traffic depending on the week, with the audio podcast side. So it's I don't know what it is. I don't know what we can do to get people to watch.
But I think,
yeah.
Well, we'll talk after because
all right. Yeah, we'll talk after. Let's talk.
But yeah, check us out there, and also check out our Instagram, Wicked Horror Show, where you can check out previous guests or guests that are coming on and stuff, just so you have a grasp of what we've done in our now it's almost a year and a half, almost 2 years now doing it. So
what have you done? Sorry.
Yeah. So check out Wicked Horror Show on Instagram as well, Kevin.
Just a knuckle on Instagram. Besides doing this with Tony and whoever else comes on with us. Also do Wicked Horror Reviews with the 13th Wolfman. Thanks for coming on, Wolfie. I appreciate it. And I'm not bitter. I also do Black and White Fright, which is just classic horror movie reviews. We tend to pick things out we've never seen before and just have some fun with it. Also do Violence Buffet. And also all our yesterdays with RW. And Sergio saying, well done. Good job, everybody. Thank you, Sergio. Go check out all of RW stuff. He's a great guy. If you ever get a chance to meet him in person, you'll never forget him. He's passionate. So
buy my book.
Yeah,
Amazon.
Buy my book.
Come on.
Isn't that from The Critic? Buy
The
my
Critic.
book.
Buy my book.
You also have an audiobook. Go check that out as well. Buy both.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for listening / watching, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Oops. I almost left the studio, guys. I'm ending it now. Whoops.